Hey guys, today I want to talk about controller support for PoE2, right? So controller support in this game is really good. It feels great, like the zone, the auto pickup, auto targeting, it feels really well done. And a big shout out to Diablo 4, right? Because I bet if it wasn't for Diablo 4's controller support and them going on console and, you know, doing all that, I bet for a fact PoE2 would probably not have as robust of controller support as it does, right? So good for, you know, good for D4 for bringing that out first. And then I think the biggest advocate on why it's so good in terms of like influence from a big streamer or whatever is probably Eris. So if you know, you know. Maybe I'm wrong, whatever, that's what I think, right? But anyway, let's talk about like the positives and negatives. Now, as far as the negatives, like the biggest negative is obviously it's going to be menu navigation. Menu navigation, I don't know, for whatever reason, menu navigation is terrible. I mean, they're making it better little by little, but you know, I can't wait for them to switch to hybrid. I don't know why Diablo 4 has hybrid controller support, hot swap ability on the fly. As soon as you move the mouse in Diablo 4, it switches to mouse and keyboard support. And as soon as you press a button on your controller in D4, it switches immediately to pad support. I don't understand why GGG can't do it. Part of the reason why I think that's the case is for whatever reason, if you're playing on a PlayStation control versus an Xbox control, the UI is slightly different. And the only reason I know this is because I have a friend who tried playing on a pad with an Xbox controller, and his quick wheel, like this quick wheel comes up whenever you press your little big center button. This quick wheel comes up, and the Xbox UI, it looks different. It has different options. Like the bind screen is down, and bind screen on the Xbox control, if you go down, it's a different option. So I don't know if it's customizable. At least I've never noticed, but that could be why they're taking so long to like implement hybrid mouse and keyboard and pad support. Maybe because there's two different ones, right? But that's officially like the biggest problem right now is menu navigation. For now, let's talk about the pros of using controller. Now, the biggest one is movement. Movement feels really good in PoE2, especially with the addition of the dodge roll and sprint. Man, at first in 0.1, sprinting was like, you know, we didn't have sprint, so you couldn't easily sprint around. You didn't have this extra speed. And because the way with PoE2, right, there's animation canceling with dodge, and that really makes it easy to like, you know, at least it gives, well, I should rephrase that. It really makes the game have a really like action-oriented gameplay feel to it because of the animation cancel. I know, right? Dodge roll, LOL. Dodge roll, lol. You need dodge roll, but it actually is pretty nice being able to cut down animations and really like high stress situations. And then navigating with the movement with the left analog stick and the ability to sprint is really nice. You can easily change directions of your sprint by just shifting the direction on your analog stick and then pressing dodge roll. And dodge roll is easily accessible. It's you know, it's normally bound right here to circle or whatever this key is. There's two controls, right? Xbox and PlayStation. I'm just gonna refer everything to PlayStation terms. So circle, right? So it's your face button, and it makes it really easy to angle the directions of your dodge roll or change the directions of your sprint with your dodge roll. And also dodge rolling behind things is a lot easier, right? If you wanted to dodge roll directly behind an enemy, it's a lot easier to do it with the controller just because you have the analog stick, which gives you that kind of snappy movement back and forth. So I did try, like, you know, mouse and keyboard versus WASD before, you know, I made this video. Obviously, I should know a little bit of how each feels. And the one downside with WASD is that because your fingers, right, are on WASD for movement. So let's say your potion is on E, or there's a skill on E. Because it's on E, you lose the ability to move right anytime you use that ability on E, right? So it's kind of annoying. Kind of sucks, but it is the one advantage between WASD versus a mouse and keyboard is kiting, right? When you're on mouse and keyboard and you're moving backwards, it's easy for you to do something like this. So move backwards and then attack in the opposite direction running away without having to use your mouse and like click here, attack this way, click here, attack this way. Now, if you're used to it, it's not a big deal, but I would say that's like big advantage on WSD over mouse and keyboard. The one thing that's I tried doing dodge rolls, like doing this like dodge roll on mouse and keyboard, or WASD I mean, right? Like dodge in a circle. It's like you have to get used to that. So it's neither here nor there, you know. If I guess if you're used to it on WASD, your dodge roll movement must be pretty good, but on controller it's even easier, just because, you know, if you're like me and you're like a controller player for basically your whole life, it's like second nature essentially, right? So that's like the biggest thing for a controller is the movement. And then for kiting, you no longer have to use like on a mouse and keyboard where it's click one side and then, you know, cast on the other side while you're going away. That feeling, those are like the biggest pros of controller. Doing that is the movement and navigating. Now the downsides, right, for controller when it comes to targeting and attacking is you lose the ability to, how do I want to say this, not just lead monsters with your targetable skills, like for instance, right, my gas arrow on controller, I really only have a couple choices. I either throw my gas arrow where the auto target tells it to go, or I override it with the right analog stick with the direction, and it just goes in that general area. On mouse and keyboard and WSD, you have this like nice feeling of really commanding where you want your skills to land. So it gives it more of like a skill shot feeling, you know, a la League of Legends kind of feel, which is really nice. But with that said, the auto targeting feels really good on controller. It feels good enough, you know. Sometimes the auto target will switch and you'll cast a spell in a direction you don't want to, but once you figure out like the priorities and how it works, it feels pretty good. And that in combination with the easier movement makes it really nice. Now, you know, let me talk about the skill binds, because these are your skill binds down here, right? Ideally on controller, the way it works is I have my layout, or at least not the way it works, the way how I have mine working is my controller setup is similar to like a Dark Souls or Elden Ring kind of setup. Now what I mean by that is my attack abilities, which are these guys right here, or the ones I use the most essentially, right, are bound to my shoulder buttons up here. Now I'm sure you've probably figured that out. The reason why it's like that is so that way you can continuously move and you never have to stop moving while you're attacking your while you're using attacks, right? You can continuously move in any direction, and then it's easy to dodge roll animation cancel out of stuff. So that's the whole reason why all your main abilities are on your shoulder buttons. Now you're only afforded 6 abilities on these shoulder buttons, because L2, you could change it though. Can you change L2? Yeah, you can change your weapon swap button. So, or your secondary skill set button. I have it set to L2. This is kind of what I'm used to, but you can change it to some other button. It could be L1 or R1. It's just I stress that you keep it on a shoulder button, just because you don't want to put any skills on any of your face buttons, right? Like your X, square, triangle, circle, or your D-pad buttons, because if it's an active skill that you're always using, it's going to disable your manual targeting, or it's going to disable your movement. So that's why you want your weapon skills. You see, if I press my secondary skill set button, right, the skills change. So you basically have 6 skills that you can swap it into. So if you go down here, right, where is it? There you go. So I basically have 6 skills, which is not bad. Most people play, or at least like ARPG, you know, it's like one button play, right? Not so much of an active play style. So having 6 skills on active use is actually pretty good. And then your face buttons are usually, I have it reserved for buffs or things that don't require aiming, like you know, pain offering, for instance, right? Those are on my face buttons. And then potions, like the access to potions too on your face buttons is really nice. All I do is I press my secondary skill set button, and then I have access to my potions, right? Square and X. I could use those if you see those, like if you see me pressing those right now. So if you have a skill that uses health, for instance, like there is a support skill. If I use pain offering, I lose health. I don't have it on right now, but if I did, I could immediately press my potion. So that makes it kind of nice. So as far as controller goes, like the access to your abilities from the shoulder buttons and the secondary skill swap button, or whatever you want to call it, makes playing the game really streamlined and really feels like you're playing more of like a frenetic action game, just because of how the dodge roll and the sprint work and the animation canceling. So we're just gonna run through I'll kind of show you and talk about it as I'm going through. Like, I sprint pretty much everywhere. Then as soon as I see an enemy, I just press the dodge roll button again. Right? Change my direction. And it's easy to set up your skills. You have availability of like a wide variety of skills. You know, at least 6 skills at your disposal. Pretty easy. You don't really have to think about it that much. Whereas, I guess if you were a one-button build, right? I'm right now I'm playing with my hardcore character. We're playing a hardcore character, like low level. So during the campaign, you'll probably maybe have more access to, maybe you need to use more skills for whatever reason. You know, I kind of enjoy it. And then I want to talk about the auto targeting, right? The auto targeting, it usually targets whatever's closest to you as a priority, and it works pretty well in general. Like if you see right now, right? I'm in this, we're in here. There's a lot going on. Like it usually either targets up in front, but then if I see something in the back, I can override the targeting with my right analog stick. I could drop like a skill shot or something. But the thing is with controller, you can't designate like an actual spot to attack. You kind of have to point in the direction of what you want to hit. And it's really not that bad. Once you kind of get the idea of how the priority of targeting works, and it starts to become second nature, it becomes really fluid and easy to command, right? So like here's a monkey right there. Drop an arrow on him. See like these guys down here. Drop a gas arrow over there. It's pretty straightforward. And it's almost like automatic. I guess it's almost like a... What's the analogy? Like a first-person shooter, right? Controller has auto-aim. So the auto-aim feels really good in this. And you could set it over here. Like you have this thing for melee targeting and then range. People usually have it. It comes like right here, automatic, as recommended. But I actually like to set it to range with all these. And it tells you all these things like direction priority, targeting area, range bias, and then the soft lock. I think the soft lock is probably the one that probably makes the most difference when I play. Only because if there's like something I want to throw, like a, you know, a skill shot towards or like an area attack, I kind of just have to point in that general direction. And then if I stop pointing, in my mind, I still want to be attacking that area. It'll stay in that area for a second. But to be honest, like between the two, I don't really notice that much of a difference. I tend to leave it on ranged just because whenever I use ranged versus melee, it feels more like it does what I want it to do more often. So that's why I kind of like leaving it on ranged, right? And then with your right analog stick, it's basically changes where your character faces. So if you want to override a lock and you want to use a skill in a different area, you have that option, right? And it feels pretty good. So let's go find. Let's use this as an example. Let's just keep going. You know, it's easy to kind of navigate. I really like how you can change the direction of your sprint. You know, roll. You roll behind a guy. It feels really good using, and I use like what, maybe like 4 different abilities, right? I have explosive demise with my arsonist, a firewall, then a gas arrow. And if I need to, I can pop a paint offering up for extra damage. Hold on, let's go fight in Silverback. Okay, kill these guys. Where is that monkey at? Well, let's just keep going. See if we can find him. I think he's right here. Okay, this is where he is. And then with the weapon swap, the addition of weapon swap, right, on your controller, it makes it really nice. Weapon swapping is really good. Instead of having it default set to X, it's set to... I have it set to triangle, so that way I have always easy access to it. Right, he's down. And yeah, it's kind of nice feel. So obviously, if you're used to mouse and keyboard, you could probably, I don't know if I'm not used to mouse and keyboard, so I can't play this quick with mouse and keyboard as far as like changing directions when I sprint, using all the different buttons, and then using potions when I need to. But the nice thing is, you know, the movement is probably the best part. And then the auto aim, it's not perfect, but it's like, I would give it like a, once you kind of get used to it, it's pretty much like a 9 out of 10 for me anyway. I've never in a situation where the auto aim was that frustrating. I did try though, mouse and keyboard and WASD, aiming with the mouse, dropping gas arrows where I want it to go, like with precision is really nice. I will say that, right? Mouse and keyboard, the precision of putting those gas arrows where you really need them to be is pretty nice. So instead, I guess because I've played controller for so long, I kind of play around it, you know? So I don't really have to worry about it. Like, I don't really have to worry about it. But the auto aim, as you can see, right, with the auto targeting, no issues. Perfectly fine. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think. So here's the other features, right, about playing on a controller. One is you do have this quick wheel. This quick wheel is pretty nice. This is, I believe this is only if you have a controller activated. Now the weird thing about it, right? One of the weird things about this quick wheel is that if you're playing on an Xbox controller, the layout is different. Like, down on the quick wheel for me is bind screen, which takes me here. This screen, when I saw my friend's Xbox controller layout, it looks totally different. Like, I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's because, you know, there's an Xbox team, there's a PlayStation team, and they're under the controller team, or whatever the hell, you know. Maybe that's the reason why there's no, like, control hybridized control with mouse and keyboard support. So, but this is a feature, it's in here, you know, the quick wheel, it is pretty nice. Obviously on mouse and keyboard, you have hotkeys, you just immediately press a hotkey, but for me, this is pretty quick. You know, it's pretty easy to navigate, right? So, kind of a nice feature. And down here, if you look at, in the bind screen, there's certain skill options that you can have. Like this is where you go to activate weapon skill, weapon set 1 and 2. This skill options menu, this used to be in the skill menu, but for some reason they moved it. I don't know why they like to move options around without like telling people where it is. So this is kind of cool, right? Cast on self. So if you wanted to always have your curse just casted directly on you, you can just do it this way, but I don't know why. It's kind of weird. So, right, you have this like if you want weapon skill, if you want a skill to only happen on weapon set 2 versus weapon set 1, this is where you would do it. You'd put it in here. Now another thing that's nice on mouse and keyboard is this, or my mouse and keyboard, misspeaking, on controller is this. Where is it? There should be one to exclude from targeting. Advanced info, nice. So if you go to advanced info under minion options, you can exclude from targeting. Right now, what this does is it keeps this minion from being sacrificed from pain offering or, you know, being targeted by explosive demise on your arsonist. So it's kind of nice. And I think, as far as I know, you can go on a controller and then you could enable this option, and then you can switch back to mouse and keyboard if you want to have this option enabled, but you still want to use a mouse and keyboard for WASD or something like that. So as far as I know, those are the only like hidden I guess options that come with controller, right? Just those two. Yeah, minion options for targeting, and then setting up your weapon set 1 and 2. All right, now let's talk about the things that suck on mouse and keyboard, the cons, right? All right, so now for the cons, I'm over here on my main character for the league, right? Look at this quad tab. See this quad tab? This is every keyboard, every mouse, I keep misspeaking, every controller player's quad tab looks like this. There's just shit everywhere, right? Because the way it works is, you know, you press buttons, you just put it into the stash. There's no like manually dragging it, making it look nice. It's just a pain, right? You have to use the D-pad or the analog stick to go through each thing. Now, if you use, I should say, I don't even know what I want to say right now. Now, if you're navigating quad tabs, it's pain. It's absolute pain. Look at this quad tab. In this quad tab, I don't even know what's happening. I just throw stuff in here. I have to type it in. This is like a dump tab. I have to just look for stuff. I've given up, right? There's no coming back from trying to sort this nicely. You know, you'd have to use each and everything to sort nicely. So I hope I hope that they somehow add in mouse and keyboard hot swap support while you're using a controller. Now let me show you some of the nightmare stuff, right? Let's say this is probably the worst thing. Let's say you had a bunch of maps, right? Let's go make maps right now. This is what making maps looks like. So it is nice, right? You know, I just press one button, it transfers over, but you also do the same thing with holding control and just clicking, right? But see how I have to navigate these tabs? Every button I press, you know, this feels terrible right now. It feels terrible, but I've gotten used to it. I'm like, I don't know, what's that word when you get used to your captors or whatever, and then you think they're your friends? This is what's happening right now. So let's say I want to make maps. This is how I have to make maps, right? Let's say I got to do all these, you know, here you go, press everything. It's too bad there's not I just hold the button and then it just applies to all of it. Like, that would be great, right? That would be great. Like this. Now I have to go over and mouse over each one to use these exalted orbs on everything. This is what you got to do on controller, right? This is what holds everyone back from attempting to play with controller in this game, because of the menu navigation. Menu navigation is a nightmare. This is the only thing that Diablo has on PoE, because they have the ability to hot swap. Okay, so now I have all my six, right? What's the next step for making maps? What, I gotta put a vertebra on it? For simplicity's sake, I got 4 vertebras. We'll just do this, right? We'll put 4. Okay, I got 4 vertebras on it. Let me go see delirium. I only have a couple paranoids. Here, let's go put on some greeds right now, right? So this is what you gotta do for greeds. Okay, now I have to go here. Each one. This is what you have to do on controller. It feels terrible. You see what I just did? I went all the way over here, and then to get back, I had to go on the D-pad and go all the way back here. Right, put it in. It seems okay, because I've done this. I'm used to it, but this is not good. Like, GGG, this is not good, dude. Right, I press a button, it goes over here. I press R1, nice, it's instilled. I press triangle, it goes back. And then I have to whip over with the right stick to go immediately into this menu, navigate down here to the corner, and then D-pad up here, press square 3 times, navigate over to the map, press triangle, R1, right, instills, put it back in the menu, go over here, and then I've got to do this for each one. Like, there's no way that this is supposed to feel good. But you know what? It's all we got. This is all we've got right now, and hopefully this gets fixed. This is easily like the worst part about controller. This is the absolute worst part. But you know, playing the game and like navigating the actual gameplay feels great. Feels great. Feels like $1 million on controller. I can't say enough about it. And then the only other thing I can think of that's kind of like a negative on controller is whenever you go into this menu right here, right? I can't. It's not like mouse and keyboard where you can open up the menu and there's like a small menu, right? The menu opens up on the side and your main character is there, right? That doesn't happen. So, like, this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this, right? See, so I switched to mouse and keyboard. When you go in your inventory, this pops up, right? On controller, it changes the entire screen. I don't know why they did that. For whatever reason, they want like mouse and keyboard to feel different. There's a really big negative to that. Whenever you go off screen, right, and you're in like this giant screen or whatever, and it's got like your character zoomed in, it looks super cool or whatever. If you're in a map and you do that with enemies on screen, right, and then you go out of the map and you go back into it, it has to reload everything. And it could take like a million years to load everything in, and you know, you could die or whatever. So I don't know why they have it that way. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So this is what I'm talking about. This is the inventory screen on controller, right? It shows your character, all this stuff. You can't see the background. When you come out of the screen, right, that little black screen that goes back up, if you're in maps and there's a lot of stuff on the screen, it'll take like 30 seconds sometimes, you know, depending on how heavy the action is or whatever. So God forbid you accidentally go in your inventory, you know, with monsters on your screen, and then you come back out, it's not going to load. You know, that's a really big downside. So hopefully, I don't know why they decided to do this way. I don't know. Maybe it's too late to go back, but I wish they didn't do it that way. Another thing too is navigating the passive tree. Navigating the passive tree on controller, it's okay, but it's not good. I would much rather have the mouse and keyboard support. Mouse and keyboard support would be the best. And part of the reason is maybe because I was talking to someone who plays on console. The people who play on console don't even have the option to play on mouse and keyboard. So I didn't know that. I don't know if that's true, but I heard that they don't even have the option to play on mouse and keyboard. So that could be part of the reason why there's no like hot swappability on PC between mouse and keyboard, because you know, it's just not coded that way. Oh, and I forgot, right? The two top reasons to play on controller. One is picking up items. I didn't show an example, but picking up items, super easy. All you do is you just run around and you just spam X, right? Your interact button, you just spam it. And the distance is pretty far. Like if you see this reforging bench, see how it highlights when I'm not even that close to it. This is me right on top of it. And then you can kind of, depending on how close things are, you use your right stick to, you know, choose and select between items. This is not that great, you know, using the right stick to select things, but it works. But picking things up off the ground is probably, it's like top tier. It's like 15 out of 10. You just pick stuff up. You don't have to worry about mousing and clicking around. And then finally, the best thing, right? The absolute best thing about controller is you can lay back, right? I like to joke around. You can kind of sit back. You can lay back, but it's kind of big. You know, it's pretty nice being able to like be more relaxed and not have to sit and like, you know, just like ready to go up in up like, you know, super close to the screen. So it's definitely more chill. I just wish that, you know, they hybridized. They should just copy D4. I don't know why you can't copy D4, bro. All you gotta do is like, as soon as I press spacebar, switches to mouse and keyboard. As soon as I press a skill on my controller, switches to controller. You know, I don't know, whatever. But yeah, hopefully you guys liked the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bye.